The girl in the rubble. The wind howled through the broken buildings like a ghost crying in the dark. Pieces of metal clanked against the stone. The air smelled of dust, rust, and something old. Something forgotten. Reza crouched low behind a shattered wall. Her body was thin, her clothes torn, and her silver skin looked pale under the dull moonlight. She hadn't eaten properly in days. Her stomach made small noises, but she ignored them. Noise meant danger, and danger could mean death. This place, once a grand alien city with shining towers, was now only ruins. Crushed homes, broken statues, silent streets, once full of life. Now only Raeza remained. Her people were gone. Some were killed when the humans came during the war. Others ran and never came back. She stayed, too young to fight, too scared to leave. Every day was a game of hide and stay, quiet. Then tonight, something changed. She had heard it, soft steps in the dust, not the heavy boots of soldiers, not the fast run of hungry scavengers. Slow, steady, like someone walking without fear. She pressed herself closer to the wall and peeked out. There, near the center of the ruins, stood a man. Tall, broad shoulders, wrapped in brown cloth and worn armor. He carried a pack and set it down beside him. Then, without any sign of hurry, he began gathering stones. What was he doing? Humans always came to take. They hunted survivors or searched for tech. They never stayed. But this one, he was building something. Raeza narrowed her eyes, confused. The man didn't seem to be looking for anyone. He set up a small fire and sat beside it. After a while, he reached into his bag, pulled out some food, and ate quietly. She licked her lips without meaning to. She hadn't tasted cooked food in weeks. The smell drifted across the ruins. It was warm, rich. Her stomach hurt now. But still, she didn't move. She watched him for hours. He didn't speak. He didn't shout. Just silence and calm hands. As the fire died down, the man stood up and did something even stranger. He walked a few feet away from his camp and placed a small packet of food on a flat stone. Then he looked around the ruins. "If you're out there," he said softly, "you're not my enemy. This is for you." Raeza's breath caught. Had he seen her? No. Impossible. She was well hidden. Still, his words echoed in her ears. "You're not my enemy." He walked back to his fire and laid down, using his bag as a pillow. Within minutes, he was asleep. Raeza stayed hidden. Her thoughts raced. Why would a human say that? Why would he offer food? Was it a trap? But the food was still there, untouched. He didn't even look at it again, just left it in the open like a gift. The sky began to turn blue with morning light. Her legs were stiff from crouching. Slowly, quietly, she moved. Her bare feet made no sound on the rubble. Closer. Closer. She could see the packet now. Dried meat, soft bread, something warm wrapped in cloth, soup. Her mouth watered. Her fingers trembled. She looked at him again, still sleeping, face peaceful. Maybe he really meant no harm. Maybe. With one fast motion, she grabbed the food and ran back to her hiding place. She didn't stop until she was deep inside a broken building where no one could see her. There, in the safety of the shadows, she opened the packet. The scent hit her hard. Her eyes filled with tears. She ate. Slowly at first, then faster. The food tasted like home, like the past. After she finished, she looked at the packet again. A small piece of cloth was folded inside. It had writing on it. "You are not alone." Her hands shook. Was this some kind of trick? Or was he really different? She didn't know. But something inside her changed. For the first time in many months, she didn't feel completely invisible. Outside, the sun rose over the ruined city. Birds began to sing, and dust sparkled in the light. Raeza held the cloth close to her chest. Her eyes turned to the spot where the man slept. Tomorrow night. She would watch again, and maybe, just maybe, she would not hide forever, the human who builds, not destroys. The next night came quickly. Raiza didn't sleep that day. After eating the human's food, her body had energy again, but her mind was full of questions. She hid inside a half-fallen tower, watching the sky shift from orange to deep blue, waiting for the human to wake up. He was still there, alive, calm, building. No soldiers had followed him. No drones had scanned the area. He had no weapon in his hand, only tools, a hammer, a shovel, a strange cutting light. He moved like a man on a quiet mission, not a soldier or hunter. Why? Why was he here? Raiza crept closer through the shadows. Her heart pounded in her chest, but her feet were silent. Her people had taught her how to move like wind when she was just a child. This time, the man, Callan, she would later learn, was working on a broken wall. He didn't repair it for defense or to trap someone. No. He shaped it, carved it, added support beams from metal scraps. He even lined the top with smooth stones. He was decorating it. She watched, stunned. No human she knew had ever cared about beauty in alien ruins. They came to break, loot, burn. But this one, he brought life, back to stone. Suddenly he paused, his head turned. He looked straight toward her hiding place. Raiza's breath caught. Had he seen her? She ducked behind a pile of rubble, heart thudding. For minutes, she didn't move. Then, a sound. Soft footsteps. She risked a glance. He was walking away from her toward a corner of the ruins. There, near the same stone as last night, he placed another package of food, this one larger. Beside it, a folded cloth. Then he turned and left it there, returning to his small camp. Hours passed. The stars blinked overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a ship rumbled across the sky, but far, far away. This place was forgotten, except by them. Raiza finally stepped out. Her feet touched the cold ground. She moved slowly, unsure if it was safe. Each step felt heavy with choice. At the stone, she stopped. She looked down. Not a trap. Real food. Bread, cooked roots, dried fruit, and even a flask of clean water. She reached for the cloth. The message read, "I don't come to fight. I come to build. If you wish to speak, I will be here." Something in her chest twisted. It had been so long since anyone wanted to speak. Not command, not threaten, not scream, just speak. She took the food and returned to her dark shelter. But that night she didn't eat alone. She sat in the moonlight facing his distant campfire and whispered her name aloud for the first time in months. Raiza. And in the silence it felt like someone finally heard it. The next day was different. She didn't just watch him now. She studied him. The human, Callan, woke early. He stretched, warmed his hands by the fire, and got to work. But this time, he wasn't fixing ruins. He was building something new. Raiza's sharp alien eyes followed every movement. He had cleared a flat area near the main stone. He placed down a frame, metal pieces joined carefully together. He laid bricks made from clay and sand shaped and dried in the sun. He was making a house, a real one. Why? Who would live in it? Just himself? No. It was too small for him. Too quiet. He worked with care, with attention to every small detail. The window holes were too short for a tall human, but just right, for someone like her. Raiza's mouth opened, in shock. Was he building for her? A gift or a trap? Her mind battled with itself. But still, each night he left food, clean, warm, untouched. Each day he built more. She wanted to ask. She wanted to shout. "Why are you doing this? What do you want?" From me? But the words stayed locked in her throat. On the fourth night, everything changed. A storm came. Not rain, but dust. Thick, choking dust that filled the sky and turned the stars to blood-red dots. Callan rushed to protect his camp. He covered the fire, held down his gear. But the shelter he was building was unfinished. It wouldn't survive. And she was still in her fragile hiding spot. A half-roofed ruin with broken walls. The wind howled like a beast. Metal shrieked. Pieces of the ruins began to fall. She couldn't stay here. With every breath, she choked on dust. Then a voice. Through the storm. "Get inside." Her head turned. Callan stood, arms out, yelling through the wind. "Here, I made it strong, come on." She hesitated, then ran. The storm cut her skin. Her eyes burned. But she ran, into the shelter, into the space he built. He slammed the door behind her. Thick stone. Safe. She fell to her knees, gasping. He knelt beside her, offering a flask. "You're safe," he said. She looked up, her silver eyes meeting his brown ones. In that moment, something inside her broke, not in pain, but in fear. It shattered. Not all humans came to destroy, some came to build, and maybe, just maybe, he had built this not with stone, but with hope. Hunger wins over fear. The storm lasted for hours. Outside, the wind roared like a wild beast. Sharp dust cut through the ruins, tearing at broken walls and fallen roofs. But inside the small stone shelter there was silence. Thick stone, tightly sealed, kept the storm out. And for the first time in many months, Reza was warm, dry, and safe. But she didn't feel safe. Not yet. She sat in a corner, legs tucked to her chest, arms wrapped around herself. Her silver skin shimmered in the dim lantern light. Across the room, Callan moved slowly, placing a cloth over a vent, checking the wall for cracks. He was careful. Quiet. She watched him. Always watching. He wasn't afraid of her. He didn't even stare. Instead, he offered her space like he knew trust was not given easily. Then, without a word, he placed something near her feet. A bowl of warm food, steamed roots, cooked grain, a piece of soft golden bread. The scent was too much. Her stomach twisted in pain. Hunger screamed inside her, but still she didn't touch it. She looked at him, her eyes narrowed. Why? Her voice was weak, dry. He looked up from his corner. Because no one should starve, not even in war. She frowned. You're human. He nodded. I am. Your kind destroyed my world. I know. He didn't argue, didn't deny. He simply accepted it, and that shook her more than anger ever could. So, what are you doing here? She asked. Callan leaned back against the stone wall, his eyes heavy with something old. I was a builder before the war. Then I became a soldier. Now I'm trying to remember who I was before the fire. She didn't answer. He didn't speak again. The silence between them was long, but not heavy. Finally, her shaking hands reached for the food. She ate. Slowly at first, then faster. Tears ran down her cheeks, but she didn't stop. She hadn't eaten like this in weeks, maybe months. Real food. Not scraps, not bugs, not cold leftovers stolen in the dark. He didn't watch her eat. He turned away, respecting the moment. After the storm passed, the air outside was still and clear. Sunlight hit the ruins again, painting gold across the stones. Smoke rose from crushed buildings that collapsed during the storm, but the small shelter stood strong. Reza stepped out first. She expected the world to feel different. It didn't, but she felt different. She had eaten. She had slept. And now, she wasn't alone. That truth scared her more than the storm. She glanced back at Callan. He stood inside, packing tools into a bag. I should go. She whispered more, to herself, then to him. He looked at her, nodded. You're free to do that. I won't stop you. She took a step, then stopped. Her eyes fell on the half-built second room beside the shelter. Its walls were still bare. It was small, just enough for someone like her. He followed her gaze. It was for you, he admitted. I hoped one day you'd come out of the shadows. How did you know I was watching? Your eyes glow when the moon hits them, and you're quiet, but not invisible. A strange warmth touched her chest. He wasn't hunting her. He noticed her. She looked down. Why would you build for me? He shrugged. Because I've destroyed too much. I need to build something. Again, something good, even if it's small. His words sank into her like roots into soil. Trust takes time, but hunger had won over fear once. Maybe. Just maybe. Hope would win next. The next few days, Raeza stayed. She didn't speak much. Callan didn't ask much. They worked in silence. They rebuilt the walls of the shelter together. She showed him hidden paths in the ruins. He taught her how to use a solar light tool. She taught him how to find clean water beneath cracked stone. Slowly, the ruins started to look less dead. A wall stood where dust once ruled. A roof gave shade where sky once burned. A fire glowed at night, not to signal danger, but to warm them, both. One evening, as they sat eating together beside the fire, Callan spoke. You know, when I first saw this place, it was dead. Broken. Like me. Raeza didn't look at him, but she listened. But I felt something, like the bones of a dream still lived here. And then I saw you, watching, surviving, and I knew I wasn't alone. She was quiet for a long time, then whispered, My people said humans had no soul, only hunger for control. Callan smiled bitterly. Many humans prove that every day. She looked at him now. But not you? He shook his head. I came to prove something else. To who? He stared into the fire. To myself. That night, Raeza couldn't sleep. She walked through the ruins, the half-repaired paths, the smooth stone walls Callan carved with his own hands. Places that once felt like graveyards now felt like the start of something new. She stood at the edge of a broken building and looked at the stars. Then she saw it. A light. Not a star. Not Callan's fire. A red flicker, far off, blinking. Not natural. Her heart froze. A tracker. Someone else was here. Someone. Not kind. She ran back to the shelter. Callan! She gasped, breathless. He woke instantly, reaching for a light. What is it? We're not alone anymore. His face turned serious. He stood quickly and grabbed a small device from his pack. A scanner. The screen lit up red. Signal detected. He looked at her. We have to move. She shook her head. No. We have to finish what we started. We protect this place. He stared at her, surprised. Then he nodded. Together. The ruins were no longer just broken stone. They were home now, and no one would take that away. 2 worlds. 1 shelter. The night was no longer quiet. The blinking red signal was no accident. It pulsed in the sky like a warning, like a predator showing its teeth. Callan and Raeza stood beside the scanner, the glow of the red dot shining in both their eyes. How close? Raeza asked, voice steady but tense. Callan adjusted the dial. The screen zoomed in. Not close enough to see us, but close enough to be searching. For me? She whispered. Maybe, he said. Or maybe for something else. But it doesn't matter now. They're too near. A long silence followed. Raeza looked at the shelter, the walls they had built together, the roof that had protected her. The tiny second room shaped with her height in mind. It was the first home she had known since her people died. She clenched her fists. I won't run again. Callan looked at her. Not like a soldier, not like a protector, but like someone seeing an equal. Then we prepare. They worked through the night. They set up warning sensors made from old scrap metal and broken drones Callan had found in the ruins. They wired stones with heat triggers. If someone walked through, the temperature shift would set off a light signal inside the shelter. Raeza, with her thin fingers and sharp alien sight, did what Callan couldn't. She climbed walls, found hidden cracks, and placed silent alarms where only a survivor would think to look. As dawn crept over the sky, the ruins were no longer helpless. They were a trap for the unkind. "You sure about this?" Callan asked as he packed a bag with tools, not weapons. "We don't know who they are," Reza replied. "But I'm done hiding." She carried only one thing, a long metal staff, sharpened at one end. It had belonged to her father, the only piece of her old life she kept. They moved together through the maze of broken streets. The scanner beeped in Callan's pocket, leading them toward the intruder. As they got closer, Reza's skin itched. This wasn't just one person. The scanner picked up multiple signals, 3, maybe 4, all carrying high-energy weapons. They weren't survivors. They were hunters. "Mercenaries," Callan said softly, reading their movement patterns. "They're trained." "Then why are they here?" Reza asked. He didn't answer, but he had an idea. An hour later, from a higher ridge, they spotted them. 4 figures in black armor. Not human soldiers, private killers, bounty hunters, and on one of their arms, Callan saw it. The symbol, a snake wrapped around a star. He cursed under his breath. "Galforge." Reza narrowed her eyes. "Who are they?" "They're not part of any military. They sell death for credits. And that one," he pointed to the lead hunter. "She's tracking someone, probably with old DNA scans." "Mine?" Reza asked, voice cold. "Maybe. Or mine," Callan replied. Reza looked at him sharply. "You too?" He nodded slowly. "I wasn't just a builder. During the war, I was part of something secret. When I left, I took knowledge they didn't want shared." "What kind of knowledge?" Callan met her gaze. "How to build peace." They returned to the shelter in silence. The scanners beeped. Faster now. The hunters were moving closer. They didn't have much time. Callan pulled out a small black box, an old Earth device. "This is a blocker. Short range, but it can fry their scanners." "How long does it last?" "A few minutes. Enough to confuse them. After that, we defend." Reza didn't hesitate. "Then let's finish what we started." Callan looked at her for a long moment. The small, fierce alien girl who had once hidden in shadows was now standing tall in the open, staff in hand, eyes burning. "You're not just surviving anymore," he said. She smirked. "I'm fighting for my home." The hunters came at dusk. 3, from the west, 1 circling from the north. But Callan's blockers worked. Their readings turned blank. They paused, confused. And that's when the traps activated. First, a light exploded in the face of the forward scout. Temporary blindness. He screamed. Then a heat sensor triggered, lighting up one of the ruins with loud, echoing alarms. They panicked. And Reza moved, silent as a shadow. She struck the first one from above, her staff slamming into the back of his armor. He fell hard. She didn't stop. Another turned, weapon raised, but Callan appeared behind him, smashing a pipe into his arm, knocking the weapon loose. They moved like a team. Not human and alien, but survivor and survivor, protecting what they had built. Within minutes, it was over. The hunters fled, 2 limping, 1 unconscious, 1 bleeding. Callan didn't chase. Reza stood over the ridge, watching the sun dip behind the hills. Her hands trembled, but not from fear, from power. This was her home now. No one would take it again. That night, inside the warm shelter, Callan finally asked, "Do you want to leave this place? We could go to another world. Safer, quieter." Reza looked around at the walls, the roof, the carved stones. "I've run enough. This place, it saw me broken. Now it sees me strong." She turned to him. "This is my home. And you, human, you helped me build it." He smiled, tired but proud. "Then I stay too." And outside, in the darkness beyond the ruins, other survivors watched from afar. They had seen the light. They had seen the shelter. They were ready to come home too, the storm and the secret. The hunters didn't return that night, but Callan knew they would. Mercenaries never forget failure, and Galforge, especially, always came back for unfinished business. Yet something deeper disturbed him. As he sat in the quiet shelter, the fire crackling low beside him, he replayed the earlier fight in his mind. The way the lead hunter scanned the area, the way she whispered into her comlink, not looking for just anyone, but for someone specific, and something else. The signal. It hadn't just pinged Raeza, it had pinged him. Outside, Raeza rebuilt a broken wall. Her staff was beside her. She worked with strength and calm, but her mind raced with thoughts. For days she had felt safe. Now that feeling was gone again. Yet she was not the same girl who once hid in rubble. This time she would not run. Callan walked out, handed her a warm cloth. "You should rest," he said. She shook her head. "There's no time." They sat together, on the stone steps they'd built. Raeza stared at the sky, her silver eyes sharp. "I thought the war was over," she said. "The fighting stops, but the damage stays," Callan answered quietly. She turned to him. "Who were you, really? Before this?" His shoulders tensed. "You wouldn't believe me." "Try me." He took a deep breath. "During the war, I was part of a team called Project Harmony. We were supposed to rebuild worlds, fix what was broken after each battle. I believed in it." "That sounds good," she said. "It was. For a while." He paused. "Until they changed the mission. They started collecting things. Alien tech, DNA samples, even survivors." Raeza's eyes narrowed. "For what?" "To use, to test, to build new weapons, hybrids." She stood up, angry. "Like me?" "No," Callan said quickly. "Never you." She didn't look convinced. "I left," he continued. "I took some files, maps, things they wanted to hide. And I ran. They marked me as a traitor." "So they're hunting you?" "Yes. And me. Because I was near you. And maybe because you're one of the last of your kind." Raeza paced in silence. Then she stopped. "We can't stay here, can we?" Callan didn't answer right away. Then finally, "Not if we don't want a war coming back to this place." But Raeza didn't look afraid. Instead, she looked determined. "Then we fight back, not just defend, we expose them." He blinked. "What do you mean?" "You said you have files, right? Proof of what they've done?" "Yes." "Then let's show the galaxy." The next day they began building again. But not just walls. Callan wired together old parts from downed drones and broken satellites. With Raeza's help, they formed a working uplink, a hidden transmitter. If they could reach an independent broadcast station, even in a low signal range, they could send the files, tell the truth. They hid the uplink in the roots of a broken tower, camouflaged by vines and stone. The moment it powered up, the scanner beeped. Multiple signals. Inbound. "Fast. They're back," Callan said. Raeza grabbed her staff. "How many?" He looked at the screen. "Not 4. Not hunters." Her blood ran cold. "What then?" He turned the screen toward her. 12. Life signals. 2 assault drones, 1 drop pod, not bounty hunters, a strike team. They had minutes. Callan began pulling cables, loading data into the transmitter. "I'll stay and upload. You run. Hide." Raeza stepped in front of him. "No." "Raeza, you said we finish what we started. Together." They stared at each other. Then he gave a small nod. They ran to the shelter and triggered all traps. Wired heat mines, light grenades, sonic bursts. And at the heart of it all, the transmitter, humming quietly, carrying the truth toward the stars. Then, the sky roared. The drop pod landed in the center of the ruins, sending dust flying. Armored soldiers stepped out. Tall, silent, faceless. Human-made machines wrapped in flesh and metal. "Come out," one of them shouted. "Callan of Earth, you have stolen property." Callan stood behind a broken wall holding the final transmitter key. He smiled sadly. Truth isn't property. Ryza stepped beside him. The soldier raised a weapon. Then the trap triggered. A massive light exploded, blinding half the squad. Another was thrown back by a heat burst. Ryza moved. Fast. Deadly. Her staff spun like a blade of fire. She struck knees, helmets, weapons, never killing but disabling. Callan activated the last uplink, then was shot. A bolt hit his shoulder. He dropped to one knee. "Callan!" Ryza shouted. He looked up. Blood on his lips. "Finish it!" she roared, and leapt toward the command unit, smashing the uplink receiver on their armor. A spark. A burst of data. Transmission sent. The soldiers paused. A voice echoed in their ears. Data breach detected. High command exposed. Project Harmony protocols compromised. And just like that, they stopped moving. A shutdown signal. They had been silenced by the very truth they tried to bury. Minutes later, the smoke cleared. Ryza ran to Callan's side. His breathing was shallow but steady. "You did it," she said, tears in her voice. "We did," he whispered. "They'll know now. The galaxy will know." She gripped his hand. "Rest now. You're not alone." Above them, satellites began to echo the signal. Truth flew across stars. And somewhere, deep in space, others began to listen. The truth about Callan. The ruins were quiet again. Too quiet. Only the soft beep of the uplink remained, still blinking, with its last signal, transmission complete. Ryza knelt beside Callan, pressing a cloth to his shoulder. His wound wasn't fatal, but he had lost blood. His skin looked pale. His breath slow. "Stay awake," she whispered, holding his face. Callan blinked weakly, forcing a smile. "I've had worse mornings." "Not funny," she snapped, her voice cracking. He coughed. "Did it send?" She nodded. "Every word, every file, the whole galaxy knows now." He let out a slow breath. Then it was worth it. Ryza helped him to his feet. Together they moved back to the shelter, the place they built with bare hands and quiet hope. The fires were gone now, the traps destroyed, the dust settling. But something in the air had changed. Outside, high in the sky, dozens of tiny lights appeared. Satellites, news ships, civilian drones. They had heard the signal, and they were coming. By morning, the first ship landed, but not a warship, a small freighter, unarmed. Its hatch opened slowly, and from it stepped a tall woman in green robes. Her skin was golden, eyes sharp and kind. "I'm Ambassador Nira," she said gently, hands raised in peace. "We received your signal. The files from Project Harmony." Callan stepped forward, shoulder bandaged. "Then you know the truth." Nira nodded. "We do. And others will know soon, too. Human leaders, alien councils, everyone." Ryza stood beside him. "What will they do? Some will deny it. Some will panic. Some will call you a liar. But others will see what you built here." Nira looked at the shelter, the walls, the quiet home in the middle of ruins. "You didn't just speak the truth. You lived it." She stepped closer, her voice softer now. "But there's more, isn't there?" Callan tensed. "What do you mean?" Nira reached into her coat, pulled out a device. "We decoded a locked file from your signal. Something hidden, encrypted even from your system." Ryza looked at Callan, confused. "What file?" He said nothing. Nira activated the device. A projection flickered into the air. A face, alien, tall with sharp eyes and ridged cheeks. Ryza's mother. Ryza gasped. The message played. "To whoever finds this, I am Valera of the Lyran people. If you are hearing this, I may be gone. But my daughter lives. Her name is Ryza. Protect her. She holds a key in her blood, something Galforge wants. They believe she is the last carrier of the Echo gene. But that gene is not a weapon. It is memory. It is peace." The message ended. Silence. Reza fell to her knees. My mother, she's alive? Nira knelt beside her. We don't know, but she recorded that 3 years ago, hidden inside Project Harmony systems. Callan must have stolen it without knowing. Reza turned to Callan. You had this the whole time? He shook his head. I didn't know. I copied hundreds of files when I ran. I didn't realize what I had. The echo gene, Nira said, turning to Reza. Your blood doesn't just carry DNA. It carries messages from your ancestors. Ancient history, culture, peace methods long lost. And Calforge wanted to twist that into a weapon, Callan muttered. Nira nodded. But now, it belongs to you again. That night under the stars, Reza sat alone at the top of the ruined tower. The wind blew gently through her hair. In her hands, she held a memory crystal, something her people once used to store living memories. She placed it against her skin. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her body glowed faintly. Visions filled her mind, images of her home world before the war. Music, laughter, tall green cities, her mother's smile, and a message. You are the last light of our people, but not the end. Not if you share what is within you. Reza opened her eyes, tears on her cheeks. For so long, she thought survival was her purpose. But now she knew. She was meant to rebuild. The next day, 3 more ships landed. Not soldiers, not invaders. Refugees, aliens of all kinds, survivors. They had seen the broadcast, heard the call. They wanted to help. Callan stood at the center of the ruins, now a village in progress. He watched as Reza guided newcomers to safety, showing them where to build, where to rest. She was no longer hiding. She was leading. Nira walked up beside him. You know, she said, you could have stayed hidden forever, but you chose to stand. I was tired of running, he replied. And her? He smiled. She reminded me why I became a builder. Nira looked around. Do you know what this is? A new home? No, she said. This is the first spark of a peace world. And in the shadows of broken towers, hope bloomed like light after a storm. The home they built together. The winds had changed. For the first time in years, they didn't carry the scent of ash, fire, or death. Instead, they smelled like stone, warmed by the sun. Like wildflowers growing in places once crushed. Like life, returning. The ruins had transformed. Where silence once ruled, voices now rose. Voices of alien refugees, humans, builders, survivors. Some came with nothing but memories. Others brought old skills. Healers, engineers, farmers. At the center of it all stood Reza. Not the frightened girl who once hid in broken walls. Now she stood tall, a quiet flame in her silver eyes, guiding others to build what she and Callan had started. Beside her, Callan walked with a slight limp, his shoulder still healing, his old tools worn but working. Together, they had turned stone and loss into something rare. A beginning. But peace never comes. Without a shadow, a week after the broadcast, a new ship entered the sky. Sleek, dark, silent. It bore no flag. But Callan knew who it was. He saw the mark beneath the surface, the ghost symbol of Galforge Command. They had come, not with warships, not with fire, but with a message. The ship landed just outside the village. From its belly walked a single figure, a woman in dark armor, no weapon in hand. Her voice when she spoke was calm, measured. Callan, Reza. They stood facing her, villagers behind them. We don't want more blood, she said. You exposed the project. Many worlds are angry. Governments have pulled their funding. Galforge is weakened. Good, Reza said sharply. The woman gave a thin smile. Perhaps. But we're not here to fight. We're here for something else. She pulled out a small glowing cube, a memory file. This was recorded 5 days ago, from a prison world in Sector 9. Callan stepped closer, his breath caught. Reza's hands clenched. The cube activated. A hologram appeared. Her mother. Alive. Barely. Held in chains. This is Valera of Lyran. The image spoke. To my daughter, if you see this, do not come for me. They want the knowledge inside you. You must stay hidden, build something better. Promise me, don't trade peace for revenge. The message ended. The woman in armor lowered the cube. We're offering a deal, she said. What deal? Reza asked, voice trembling. Come with us. Speak to our leaders. Help us fix what we broke. Help Galforge transition into something new. Kaelin stepped in front of her. You had your chance. You turned peace into weapons. And now we want to undo that. You want to control her again? No, the woman said. We want her to lead, because the galaxy is watching now. And you two are no longer just survivors. You're symbols. A long silence followed. Villagers murmured behind them. Reza turned to Callan. What do we do? He looked into her eyes, then around at the village, the small homes, the children laughing, the gardens growing in rubble. This place is real, he said, but if the rest of the galaxy stays broken, it'll find a way to crush us again. Maybe, just maybe, we do need to go. You'll come with me? Reza asked. He smiled. I go where you go. 1 week later, a new kind of ship left, the village on board, Callan, Reza, and the ambassador from Galforge. Destination, the Unified World Summit. The galaxy waited. Nations angry, people confused, old enemies ready to point fingers. But when the broadcast began and the screen lit up, the galaxy didn't see generals. They saw her, a girl with silver skin standing in front of thousands, not demanding power, not seeking war, but holding up a single stone from her ruined home. This, Reza said into the galaxy, is where I slept after the war. This stone was cracked, lost, like me, like many of you. But one human, a builder, handed me food, not fear. She looked over at Callan. He carved walls, not weapons. He listened. He built. And because of that, I survived. She turned back to the crowd. Today, you ask me to lead. But I will not lead as a ruler. I lead as a builder. If you want to rebuild this galaxy, I will help you. But not with soldiers, with hands, with hope, with home. The hall was silent. And then, slowly, one by one, they stood, not just humans, not just aliens, but all of them, standing for peace. Months passed. A peace initiative began. Galforge was dismantled, reformed into a council of restoration. Survivors from many species were placed at the head. Callan trained new builders. Reza taught old ways from her people, healing, memory, harmony. And the village in the ruins, it grew, became a symbol, a place of learning, of unity, of truth. Children from many species learned there, under the stars, beside the same stone Reza once slept on. And every night, when the stars came out, Reza sat beside Callan, their hands joined. They didn't speak of the past anymore. They were too busy building the future. Together. The end.